Hi, Hal.
Stan, we've got a new idea for merch.
A new idea for merch. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a shirt. It's an athletic shirt. It's a jersey.
A jersey. Does it have sleeves or no sleeves?
No sleeves.
Perfect.
It says the Angels, so that you can support your favorite team.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yes.
For the bilingual.
For the bilingual, we'll have we'll also make a
Los
shirt.
Angeles.
We'll make a shirt that says Los Angeles for the listeners who know how to dance.
I don't think that's me.
Nope, you get the Angels shirt.
That's perfect.
The Los Angeles Angels. Stupid name.
Hey, it's good to be back in familiar places, drafting table.
Yeah.
We haven't recorded from here in a while.
No, and you can tell from the warm noise that this is home.
Green beer.
The green beer. I didn't know it was going to be green. It's fantastic. Why is it green?
They should do this for St. Patrick's Day. It'd be perfect because it has flavor. It's not just green food dye.
Well, I thought that you only drank and ate stuff with pickles.
I did pickles. Yeah. Pickle beer would be good on St. Patrick's Day too.
I think Jameson Irish whiskey would be good on St. Patrick's Day.
No, green beer. It has to be because that's traditional. That's been around for 2,000 years.
What if you dyed the Jameson green?
Well,
they color it anyway. It's false coloring.
Is it false coloring?
Yeah, all whiskey is false coloring. They just add the caramel color.
I thought they just got the coloring from the barrels they aged it in.
No, they add it.
All right.
I know, I was disappointed when I found out. It's just clear. All liquor is clear.
I know it's clear, but when they put it in the barrels, I thought it just pulled up the tannins from the barrels. That's what I thought. But the way you're looking at me, I think you look a little less sure.
I do now, after you say more than 4 words. Okay, so I don't remember what you're talking about today. I just remember it was super fucking boring.
It's not boring. It's never boring.
It's so boring. Every single week you choose history. Nobody cares about history except old men.
Everybody loves history.
Nobody gives a shit about history unless they are 89 and part of it.
So much history.
Okay, well, I'm introducing a new segment today, inspired by the suggestion of our producer. It's called Why Should I Fucking Care About This? So,
okay, I can bring that
after
up.
Everything you say or share, I'm going to say, why should I care about this?
Perfect.
All right,
That'll
let's
be
go.
Good. Okay, so welcome back to the Some Forever, Some for Better podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 3. And the topics are from 1877, Algerian history in the 1800s.
Nobody cares about either of those things.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
From 1980, apprentice and employee training.
Okay.
Perfect. And then from Wikipedia, the plant genus Faradaya. Faradaya.
So it's kind of like the same podcast every week. We're going to lose listeners.
Always...
Except for the ones who use us to fall asleep.
I think that's probably a good choice.
I think that we're a fall asleep podcast.
Hey, so we'll start with 1877 Algerian history. And it's in the 1800s. So this is like kind of contemporary in the Encyclopedia.
Maybe for you. None of the rest of our people were born in the 1800s.
No, it's contemporary for the books. It's written kind of like we would talk about World War II or maybe the Korean War. You know, we haven't talked about that yet. It doesn't exist. It's not future history.
I don't know. I think it's been happening for the last 45 years.
So, like, you know the Marine hymn song, right?
No.
So, Marine hymn from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Marine, like the Marines?
Yeah, the
like
Marines. The Marine hymn. The halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Is it the Marines are butt pirates, and an army recruiter told me that on Facebook.
So this is the period we're talking about. In 1804, the Americans went to war with the Barbary Pirates, which is Algeria and Tunisia. Those were the Barbary Pirates. So it was like less than 70 years ago when we were fighting this war, the Barbary Pirates, and they were writing the Marine hymn. There's a guy named Stephen Decatur who led the U.S. Navy, and the city of Decatur in Illinois was named after him. So that's kind of cool. So the European countries were paying tribute to the pirates, and the Americans was like, no, we're not going to do that. So we actually fought them. We decided to go to war against the pirates and defeated them. And the pirates were capturing white people as slaves. People don't care about that.
So like, I once saw, this is like a long time ago and I was stupid enough to be on the internet at all, but it wasn't a meme, it was just an image with a caption, and it said, oh, one time white-skinned Europeans were taken as slaves, and I just knew that all the fucking white supremacist racists in the comments were going to be like, oh, that justifies everything, and slavery in America wasn't that bad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to delete the internet. I hope the sharks chew through the under-ocean internet pipeline.
The American slave trade was different. It was like an industry. Not just American. It was like British and Brazil, all the slave trade. It was industrial.
Stan. So, from my understanding, from what you whites have told me white slavery is, it sounds like they gave everyone equal rights and ensured no discrimination in employment or housing or bathroom usage. Because that's white slavery, right?
No.
That's what the far left liberal Democrats are going to do. White slavery, right?
No, it did happen. It was mainly like opportunistic. They would go into a town on a coast and they would take some people. It wasn't like industrial where they actually sent out.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so.
I know. I look around and I see the state of the world, and I know, Stan.
All right.
Just wait till I get my time machine. I'm going to make reverse racism real, because I don't know if you know this, whites, but it's not real. Sorry.
But that's really just an aside to kind of bring it into what was going on during, not much before.
To bring it into the far right, alt-right person that Stan wants you to vote for in 2030.
It's me.
It's you. Vote for Stan for the New World Order, American fascism.
Because by then we'll have Canada as a 51st state and Mexico as a 52nd state. But I like your idea of merging the Carolinas and the North Dakotas. So
we're going to force North and South Carolina to be one Carolina. We're going to force North and South Dakota to be one Dakota. And
don't have to change the flag.
Yeah, don't have to change the flag. And if we go out and conquer Greenland, then we can force Virginia and West Virginia to be one Turbo Virginia.
It's perfect. That would be great. I think it's a good idea. I think if you spoke with Trump and brought that up,
I think he would absolutely tweet it. Yeah. But he would take credit for it, too, because he doesn't believe in giving credit to women.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring one more aside. So Stephen Decatur, who fought the Barbary Pirates, was friends with Richard Somers, who was killed in that war. And you don't care about this, but there was a ship named after Richard Somers, the USS Somers.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the USS Dick.
Nope. And the significant thing of that is the founder of my fraternity was hung or hanged for mutiny, and his body was on the bow when they brought the ship to port. It was like hung for mutiny off the SS Somers. I've read about it.
So you're in a fraternity inspired by a known traitor.
A pirate.
Were you?
He was a pirate.
Were you there on January 6th doing treason?
No, he was going to take a
Mike
ship.
Pence?
He was going to take the ship and use it to become a pirate. He was like, So his story
God forbid a man has a hobby.
He was starting his third year as a freshman at his third college, and he decided, no, I'm going to be a pirate. So he was inspired. He inspired a fraternity.
Yeah. Okay. See, like, we murder everybody with, like, good, fun ideas like that. That's why we suck so bad in this country. No good ideas are allowed to exist. We hang them.
Yeah. So I'll get back into the actual stuff I read about. That was just all stuff I know about. The Regency of Algiers was started in 1560, so that's when it became a country. So it's pretty, a lot older than the U.S. So just bring that in there. In the 1800s, so this is after the Americans fought the Barbary Pirates, but the English defeated Algiers in 1815, and Algiers said, okay, you beat us, we're going to free the slaves, and we're going to stop the piracy. But they didn't.
I want to be a pirate. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was very fun, and this was a really good game, and I would like to become a pirate. The Golden Age of Piracy was pretty awesome, and I think that we should be talking about that instead of whatever bullshit you picked.
Now, Golden Age of Piracy was before this, but I think you referred to a video game.
Oh, Stan, you're so fucking old. That's why you care so much about history. You just want to remain relevant by talking about ages bygone in which you were still kind of sprightly.
Kind of there.
Yeah, you're kind of doing stuff. Not just coasting, waiting for the end.
So since they didn't stop the pirates, the English defeated them again in 1816. So 15 and 16. And this time the Algiers said, okay. They freed 1,211 slaves and promised to stop the piracy. But you know what? They didn't.
Good.
So they weren't just pirating the English, they were also pirating the French.
Ha ha.
And it gets kind of funny because there was a dispute between the French government and two Jewish merchants in Algeria. And the Algerian government was backing the Jewish merchants. And they were trying to get the French to pay what they owed them. And the Dey, D-E-Y, which is the ruler, it's called a Dey, he slapped the French representative in public. He slapped him. Just
bitch slapped him. Nice.
And that was an affront for the French. They were like, oh my God, he slapped us in public. And so they went to war with Algeria.
That's a hilarious reason to go to war.
So, I thought it was legitimate because he was affronted. He's like slapped and threw his gloves down, probably. I mean, that's
so fucking funny.
So the French.
I think we should bring back slapping people.
So the French blockaded Algiers for 3 years, and then in 1830 they sent in the army. And I don't know how much you know about the French army, but this was one of the biggest armies at the time. The French had the best army. The British had the best navy. And so the French sent in their army. They were very imperialistic at the time.
Did Macron, the president of France, get slapped by his wife recently?
I saw the video. It was like
something that
on the plane, she kind of
our producer
comes
really
out of this side and like, just slap.
Well, I mean, he got off lightly for his series of French affairs, probably.
So the French don't take kindly to slapping, and they had the best army at the time in the world. And so the army captured Algeria. No, this was like, so the French army was historically one of the strongest armies. So like, think of Napoleon. This is just after Napoleon.
I had a history professor in college who said if a French person ever starts talking shit about us stupid Americans, just say Plan 17. Plan 17. Look it up. It's funny.
What is it?
Plan 17.
Oh, I don't know Plan 17. I know Plan 9 from outer space, but not Plan 17.
Stan, slap yourself. New segment. Slap yourself a lot harder.
So the French army captured Algeria and took 2,000 English pounds in sterling from Algeria, and they sent the Turkish army packing. So the Turkish army they were the rulers of Algeria at the time. And they sent them away.
Why should anyone care about this?
Well, it's because it's historical and it kind of talks about some of the relationships about the different countries and when it does matter. Yeah, we'll see how.
Doesn't really. It's affecting my life today, and I don't care.
Are you pirated by the Algiers anymore?
I'm pirated by my own fucking country. All right.
That's fair. We'll take that. So the French told the English, "Hey, we're not conquering Algeria. we just want to stop the piracy and defend the slap. I mean, the slap was like, it's,
defend
it's
the
like
slap.
2 million sterling, which I have no idea what that would be today. And the English were like, cool, that's okay. You're not taking over the country. That's cool. But then, so that happened in 1830. And in 1833, the French said, no, we're actually going to take possession of Algeria. We want it fair and square, so we're going to take it, and we're going to make it a colony. But they said, we're not going into Morocco, we're not going into Tunisia. And the English said, okay, cool. So this is like, I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy too. It was like, I took Algeria, but Tunisia, Morocco, free and clear. French were like, cool. The English said, yeah, I'm cool with that. And just, the French were colonizing a lot of places at this time.
Yes, I'm aware, Stan. Okay. I'm aware of the colonization committed by Europeans.
Well, you think about like the colonization by
I think
English,
about all of them. All of them.
Belgians with
all
the Congo.
Of them. All of them.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Stan, we live in Detroit. You really don't think that the fucking French were out conquering shit?
Yeah, no, they still were, because that was they'd already lost like most of their North American possessions.
I'm sorry, you've already lost my attention, because on this television they showed someone caught an alligator and a smaller alligator.
Together?
Yes,
Baby
together.
Alligator?
Yep.
So just to give you an idea, Algeria is the second largest by size country in Africa and 10th largest in the world. So it's a big amount of land they had.
Isn't that where Camus was born?
Mm-hmm.
Albert Camus.
Maybe.
The Plague.
The Plague?
Are you serious? The existential author and philosopher.
Oh, okay.
Jesus
got
fucking
it.
Christ.
No. I didn't read that this week.
Jesus.
So in 1830 was when there was the second French Revolution. So you had the first one, which was, the Bloody Revolution, the one where the guillotine and Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette and all that stuff. So they had the second revolution in 1830. And because they had a revolution, they had to replace the general that was under the previous regime with a new general, because that's what you do. And if you want to know, for reference, Les Miserables was set during this time frame. So that's what was going on.
The June Rebellion.
Yeah, so that would happen in like 1830 is when that was.
Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men?
So this is contemporary to that. They weren't singing; they were fighting.
Stan, you're so boring. I don't care.
Instead of like trying to, befriend the Algerians, and they conquered them, they destroyed mosques, they destroyed buildings, and they decided to make Algerians follow French law. And you know what? Algerians didn't like that. They were like, no, we want to do our own thing.
Hey, remember the bubonic plague? That was a fun time. It was like gross.
There's a lot of different times with the bubonic plagues that you might be speaking about, one particular one. And
are you talking about the one that's happening next year for sure? Absolutely. No. We're having another pandemic next year, 100%. We're definitely having a pandemic before 2020.
Seems like he knows something about this pandemic.
Yeah.
Have you seen 12 Monkeys?
Shut up, Stan. We're just definitely going to have a pandemic, because every time Dump is president, it's the worst possible fucking fate for this planet happens. Yep. Good job. Thanks for voting wrong, America. Thanks a lot.
So after they put the new general in place, they took possessions of the Dey, which is a ruler, the Beys, which were the local chief, and all the Turks that they sent packing. And then they sent troops further into Algeria. And the local Beys fought back. French were not doing well. And they did commit some atrocities, like killing an entire tribe and promising some Beys safety and then killing them. So, and that, when they did that,
white people shit, just white people thing.
It pissed off the rest of the Algerians. Now all the Algerians are in. And then this guy, it's Abd el Kadir. So ABD-EL-KADER.
Nobody's gonna look that up.
And it's in Wikipedia. It's Abdel Kadir, Abdel without a dash. It's Abdel Kadir.
Oh, why should we care?
It's because it's interesting to find this stuff out.
It's really not interesting to spell stuff, though.
Because I'm spelling it because I probably pronounce it wrong. So
I told you to use pronunciation.com, Stan.
Don't understand.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, what is it, my child?
I have snakes on my pen today. It's very
nice.
cool.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, and you see the little snakes. Oh, also, my orchid hasn't died yet. It has 9 flowers, and it's making a 10th flower.
Wow.
I know. It's a big deal.
That's a huge.
Last time I had an orchid, Ella died.
So this Abdel Kadir, he was the son of a Marabout, which a Marabout is a Muslim religious teacher. He was known for his piety and had gone on pilgrimage to Mecca twice. So he was real pious, more pious than somebody who went once. And he was also known for his skills in horsemanship and other manly activities.
Horsemanship. So he was a horse girl.
Maybe. And they fought a bunch of battles. It kind of went back and forth. And then the French decided, okay, we're going to make some peace. And they said, the French said, we're going to recognize Abdel Kadir as the leader. He was going to recognize the French as, the rulers, but he was recognized as a local leader of Mascara.
Of Mascara?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where the name comes from. They found some antimony powder in Mascara, which was a cosmetic, and so they called it Mascara. That was what it was historically named as Kohl, Kohl.
That's common knowledge, I thought. But maybe it's only common knowledge of people who used to read.
Well, I did look it up, and Kohl's was named after Max Kohl, so it wasn't any relation. But.
Oh my fucking God, Stan. Next. So bored.
So the treaty said that they would have a monopoly on the corn trade with the French, and the French didn't like that for some reason. Probably because corn grown in Algeria wasn't good because it's a fucking desert.
Also, history is so fucking boring. I just cannot bring myself to even listen at all. You better expedite this because you have not made a strong case for why I care.
So at this point, the French decided that the Algerians would follow their laws, the French citizens would follow their laws. It started out peaceful, but then the French grew jealous because this Abdel Kadir was successful, and so they're like, well, we don't like that. So they went to Mascara, and he had abandoned it and burned it. They fought some battles. The French lost some.
Boring.
But they defeated the Algerians and signed another treaty in 1837.
Boring.
And then went to war again in 1838. These periods of peace don't last long.
You know how boring this is? HBO hasn't even ripped it off to make a horrible new series about it. That's how fucking boring it is.
Yeah. Well, they
Holy
make those
shit.
things. Most of history would be boring according to you.
Just the way that you present this is so fucking boring. You're like, oh, and then there was a battle, and then there was the French, and there was a desert, and then there was the French. Nobody cares.
They do care.
God, you're so much worse than my history professor. My history professor was a good lecturer, and you're just like, there were some battles maybe, or maybe not. I don't know.
No, there were. So, but the Abdel killed a bunch of French in the battles, and so they sent a new strategy, General Bigot, and he sent 100,000 troops. So it's a huge number of troops they were sending, and they pretty much sent them all. The emir was exiled to Morocco, but then he came back, and they was defeated again, and went to Morocco. When we went to Morocco, he got Morocco to declare war on the French. And the French sent an army Morocco sent an army into Algeria, but they were easily defeated. And Morocco's like, no, we're going to do this, and they got out. So they had some more skirmishes, but they lost, surrendered in 1848 finally. And it was the same time as the Third French Revolution, which is when...
Okay, how come we are still on our first American Revolution? We need a new revolution now. Hey, you want to read The Winter Soldiers together about the American Revolution?
Is that the new one?
No, that was the first one.
No.
But I went to John K. King bookstore in
nice.
Detroit, and I got the Winter Soldiers from Easton Press, and now I kind of want to read it. For some reason, I'm a little bit interested in American Revolution.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So third French Revolution was when Louis Napoleon, or Napoleon III, was elected president, and of course he ended up becoming an empire, created a new empire there. And they had captured Abdel Kadir, and Louis Napoleon released him in 1842. He went to what is now Turkey, and didn't really ever come back. He was cool. So they had some more revolts, but they lost. 1856, the French controlled the entire colony. They started colonizing it. There were some more battles back and forth. And then, I don't know if you're French history, but French was very imperialistic, like talked about. They were the biggest army.
I know, they were Western Europe.
And there was a Franco-Prussian war, which they lost very badly. That's when the Germans had put a siege on Paris, and the citizens of Paris were eating the cats, eating the dogs.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Of the people who lived there.
Eating the cats. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Eating the cats of the people who lived there. So at that point, the Algerians attacked again. There wasn't really an army to fight back. And so after the fall of the Paris Commune, the French had troops again, and they were able to go back and defeat them. In 1871 was when the French lost the territory of Alsace-Lorraine, which was a big issue during World War I and World War II.
Okay.
So I also looked up Algeria in 1980. And in 1980, they didn't say anything about the history. They just talked about Algeria. And it might be because Algeria was a French colony until 1961. So I looked for French Algeria, but couldn't find anything. So in 1877, the battles weren't over yet. And it says that it was not conquered and pacified. I mean, people weren't fighting back until 1903. Some of the atrocities that occurred after this included mass execution of prisoners, mass execution of civilians, concentration camps. It said the population fell by 30% during this period, and some
Just cute white people things.
Some scholars consider it a genocide during the Algerian
that sounds
genocide.
pretty genocide-y.
It does. Yeah.
That's so fucking funny. It's like, I don't know. It's not a genocide when we do it. When we do it, it's the will of God.
And so in 1856, the native Jews and Muslims were considered French subjects, but not citizens. And then in 1865, they said the Muslims could become citizens, but they had to give up Sharia law and live by French law. And so most of them didn't do it. And in 1870, the Jews were given citizenship. And that's where it ended. It didn't really go much into the history and other places on that. But it wasn't a good time for the Algerians. They were pretty much conquered, and there's a lot of battles going on during that time frame. So, Hal, you ready for the next topic?
Yeah, I'm so ready. Holy shit.
So next topic is from 1980. And this topic is apprenticeship and employee training.
Okay.
So it starts off talking about initially. So this is ancient times.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Should I say right now that I just really want to be an apprentice to, like, maybe the guild master so that I can kill him and take over the guild?
Is that how it works in Skyrim?
It is! How did you know? In Skyrim, like, all of the guilds or whatever, all of the fucking... Oh, those fucking people, the guild master dies and I get to be guild master even if I'm completely fucking incompetent. That's how American companies work. Some incompetent douchebag takes over and then he just delegates the work to all the smart people and underpays
That's always
them.
how it happens.
Yeah, he delegates it. Well, he delegates it to the VP, which is his son, and then the VP doesn't ever show up to work, and so he delegates to his secretary, and then it goes all the way down to the fucking V-dashes who get paid fucking nothing. And those are the people who do all the real work.
That is true.
So I just want to be like at the top of that.
Guildmaster.
I would like to be guildmaster.
So, in like the Roman times and prior to that, a lot of the crafts stayed in the family. So the family learned how to do trade. They passed on their son. So it's kind of things you're looking at. Also, birth and status. You look at like caste in India. They determine what you were going to do. So historically, all the training was done that way.
See, like that really takes the pressure off of me for my failure and really puts it on my dad.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't teach you his trade.
Well, he did it. He wasn't rich enough. So that's the reason I'm not successful. Because my dad wasn't.
They were just skilled, and so they had to do something. It says the Romans organized themselves into collegia. Hey, all this fell apart in the Dark Ages. Dark
Ages. Hey, Stan.
Somehow my ancestors survived that.
I'll bet that if you offered like an online course about how to be a successful straight white man, you would actually make money off of that because people are so fucking stupid. Can we do that? And like you can be the face of that douchebaggery, but I actually make all the money because I'm behind the scenes operating it.
Puppet master?
Yeah, I'm the puppet master. I'm like Dick Cheney. I'm the real one in charge. Also, I'll shoot you in the face.
Cheney's got a gun.
Okay.
So in 1877, it's kind of cryptic how it talks about things. It says the civilians. So it's a book title. The civilians are silent on the subject of this contract, which is apprenticeship, nor does it seem to have any connection with the division of Roman citizens into tribes or colleges, and it implies it was not formalized in Rome, the relationship of the master to the trainer or training. And it does seem to say that the formal definition, and this is how 1877 is written, is a contract between a master and an apprentice for a certain amount of time. And then, as we talked about in the last episode, it started in 1300s with the medieval guilds. And when it was talking about it, it talked about a cord swainer.
What?
Cord swainer. Does Oblivion have cord swainers?
That sounds like a medieval euphemism for your penis.
No, it was not. It was actually a shoemaker who made new shoes. You've probably heard the term cobbler. Yes. Cobbler was one who repaired shoes. A cord swainer was the one who made new shoes. So that was the difference. Because I was like, what the fuck's a cord swainer? And as we talked about, each town had merchant guilds organized around the master. The apprentice was assigned for a period of 7 years. And that started out as informal, but became formal, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So he worked and slept at the master's house. So when he went to be apprentice, you lived with them.
Oh, actually, so in Skyrim, that reminds me of the alchemist in
the book The Alchemist.
Yeah, the alchemist, the old curmudgeon-y alchemist. In fucking, why am I blanking here? And that really
it's either Oblivion or Skyrim.
No, it's
maybe
Skyrim.
It's gonna be Assassin's Creed.
If you would shut the fuck up so I could fucking think about Skyrim. Jesus Christ.
Yes, what is my child?
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, there's a curmudgeon-y alchemist. He's got an apprentice. Oh my god, you ruined the story so bad with your stupid comments. Stan, slap yourself. Jesus Christ.
Yes, what is it, my
Slap
child?
Slap yourself harder.
So the whole thing, he worked at the master's house. The master fed him. All the work was done there.
Windhelm. That's the one.
Windhelm,
the alchemist in Windhelm has an apprentice, and the alchemist is like a total douchebag, but it's okay, he dies.
All right. I believe you. The masters were restricted. They couldn't take in more apprentices than they could train. And we talked about last week after he served.
That's
his
crazy
term.
because the U.S. government thinks it's okay to shove 45 kids into one teacher's classroom.
Yeah, we'll get in more. This is more about work training as opposed to just strict education, although education does get into it. So as we talked about last week, in order to become a master or qualified to become a master, you had to create your masterpiece to show that you had the skills. But then you may just be a journeyman after that before you become a master. Some people never get past that stage.
In Oblivion, all your skills, you're a novice until you hit level 25 in that skill. So let's say that you're using a lot of restoration spells and you hit level 25 and now you're not a novice anymore. Now you're an apprentice. But if you keep fucking hitting those spells, you can get up to journeyman. Whoa! And then you can go up to expert at level 75. Whoa! And then if you go all the way to level 100, you're a master. Whoa!
See, and now
you can use all the spells now. What?
So why do I care about this?
Because
the reason you care about it. No, I'm answering your question.
So much better than what. Okay, so the other day in Oblivion, all I did for an hour and a half was run around in the wilderness picking flowers, and you know what? I felt just as good as if I had gone outside in real life picking flowers.
Oh, you're ready for the metaverse.
I'm sorry. Well, you know why? You know why? Because I'm not allergic to the flowers in Oblivion. I didn't have to fucking choke on my sneezes just because I went outside for 20 seconds.
So the reason you care about this is because the people who wrote those games that you like knew this information when they created the games, and so they based it on actually what was happening in the world.
Wonderful. See, unlike the fucking Algerian War or whatever, this has practical application and understanding the importance of Oblivion.
Just because they haven't made a video game based on Algerian history,
maybe Elder Scrolls 6 will be based on Algerian history, and then we'll love it because that's all in the desert.
So the guilds were a protection against feudal lords to give people the ability to create things, is what it says in 1877, and to protect people against shoddy work. But they became monopolies. They started off with good intentions, but then because they could become monopolies, they did. The people were they controlled everything. They controlled the pricing. They controlled all this stuff. Outsiders were prevented from learning the trade. They selected who would bring in family members, things like that.
Man, where's Teddy Roosevelt when you need him?
Yeah. So that's where they become bad. And in 1877, it says the word universities is the correct Latin term for corporation. So this guy considered them to be the same. And a university for training for a doctor or someone in the liberal arts is 7 years, which is kind of the same as training for a craft. It's just if you want to become a doctorate, you typically go 4 years undergrad, 3 years in graduate. And I don't know what was celebrated, but I feel like celebrating too. I'm going to take a drink.
Cheers, Stan.
Cheers.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! Apprenticeships, Oblivion.
So
I got kicked out of the Mages Guild for stealing stuff. I also got kicked out of the Fighters Guild for stealing stuff.
I thought you got kicked out of the Thievery Guild for stealing.
Okay, so I was like, okay, can I get kicked out of the Thieves Guild for stealing? Because that's fucking stupid. And then I stole something in front of the Gray Fox, and he was like, hey, you can't do that. And then it's you've stolen from the Thieves Guild. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm the best at what I do. That's why you want me here.
You should be promoted.
Fucking, yeah, exactly. You should be promoting me. I'm like, yes, I literally got into the Thieves Guild by stealing. What the fuck? So fucking stupid. It's like I work at a Subway and I got fired for fucking being too good at sandwich making. What the hell?
You made a sandwich. It was better than what they had.
The sandwich is too good. Now everyone's jealous. You're banned. You've been expelled from the Sandwich Guild.
You made that foot long, 11 inches instead of 10, and they kicked you out.
Too generous. Hey, did you know that they call their employees sandwich artists?
Nice.
That's fucking terrible. Okay.
You know who came up with that? A white woman.
A white woman. I believe it.
A Karen.
such a fucking character. I know, instead of just giving you a livable wage, they just make up a silly, stupid title for you. Although, did you know that you can just go onto LinkedIn and make up whatever fucking title for yourself you want? So, I'm wishing my title be on LinkedIn.
There's somebody who's
LinkedIn is such a bullshit website.
His title is a corporate storyteller.
See, like, all I hear is just a guy, like, jerking off his 2 inches going like, oh, yeah, I'm a corporate storyteller. Oh, it's like, no, you're somebody's fucking rich son. Fuck you.
I'm bringing us back to the podcast. I don't know where we're going with this.
Why should I care?
So, in 1563, they tried to create rules for the guild. This was kind of weird. There was it's called the English Statute of Artificers. It's also called, in 1877, it was called the Fifth of the Lees, or the Act of Elizabeth. And they said a master, so an apprentice must serve for 7 years. Doesn't matter how good they were, they had to serve for 7 years. A master must have 1 journeyman for each 3 apprentices. And you couldn't do the craft unless you had been an apprentice. So this got some weird things that happened because it only covered things that had already been built. So if you were a carriage maker in the 1800s, you couldn't make the wheels. You had to buy the wheels from somebody who was in the wheel guild because the carriages hadn't been built yet, but the wheels had. So, but if you were in the wheel guild, you could make a carriage because carriages hadn't been covered, so you didn't have to get them from the carriage guild.
It just sounds like a patent law.
Yeah, it's really weird the way it was. So there's in 1756, so the city of Glasgow in Scotland refused to recognize James Watt. You know what James Watt is?
A white guy.
He was, yeah, but it's not James White, it's James Watt.
Oh, is he still a white guy?
Still a white guy.
I'm so uninterested in white guys.
You've heard of the term Watts, right?
Yeah,
Watts?
see, he invented the Watt.
Well,
how many watts is your light bulb?
So he didn't invent the light bulb. He invented the steam engine, and he invented the term horsepower. Which you probably have heard.
So fucking silly. That's fucking silly.
But he
would still use that today.
He hadn't heard his.
How many duck power is 1 horsepower?
It's the alternative is Newton meters per second, and it's horsepower is a lot easier to say. That's why even the Europeans use horsepower. If you're doing the mathematics, you're doing Newton meters per second. But when you're talking about horsepower.
Boring nerd shit.
So this guy invented the steam engine. He's well known. He's known today, but he wasn't recognized because he hadn't served the 7 years. He was already beyond that. So in 1814, they repealed that. They didn't. It lasted for 300 years, and finally they said, no, it's just stupid. So they had it. They had it repealed. And you know who Adam Smith is, right?
He's that guy.
Wealth of Nations, and how he's the one that a lot of economics that we use today is based off of.
He's got such a boring white boy name.
Adam
Smith.
It's English. It's only boring because you live in a country where there's a bunch of white guys.
If you're 16 and you get pulled over by a cop for underage drinking, and he's like, "What's your name, son?" and you fucking choke, and you go, Adam Scott, because it's just the most generic white boy name you can think of. That's how white that name is.
You know, Jason's here today, right?
Jason is here?
Right.
Oh, Jason with the 3 white names?
Yes.
I don't see him.
He's left.
Oh.
He was sitting over there.
Probably left because you're so boring.
Megan. So Adam Smith argued that any monopoly or restrictions on trade which are caused by the guilds were injurious to the public good.
I was not listening. Okay, no, I'm just slowly process what you said in the background. Yep.
So Adam Smith was against the guilds and against apprenticeships.
You know what? In Oblivion, the Mages Guild has a monopoly over enchanting, and spellcrafting, which is so fucking bullshit. But in the DLC, they give you this like cool tower house where you can do that by yourself, which is great because I am hella expelled from the Mages Guild because they're a bunch of little bitches. Look, I was not seen stealing by anyone, and yet somehow they know that I stole from them. That's bullshit, Oblivion. Fucking 2007 era fucking game mechanics don't make no sense. Also, why can't I put books on the shelves like I can in Skyrim? I had to kind of like try to just chuck them in there, and it never works. They fall on the floor. It's so stupid. Like,
maybe if you served as an apprentice in full term as an apprentice.
In Remastered, they like fixed so much stuff. They should have fixed the bookshelves. That's like a quality of life thing. They didn't fix the dungeons, but they could have fixed the bookshelves. How hard would that have been? That would have been one afternoon of code tops. Okay. What's the next subject, Stan?
Oh, we're still on this subject.
No!
So when you talk about college, you have your bachelor's degree and your master's degree.
In Skyrim, it's the Mages College.
So,
there's also a Bard's College where you can learn how to be a poet.
It does cover some of that, but the master's degree was named after master, same the master-apprentice relationship.
Okay, but how come that's like the bitch level doctorate? Like why isn't that even respectable anymore? It's like I could afford a little bit more school, but only 2 years, not 4.
Yeah, it's complicated, but
my degree is unused.
In the 1980 book, they talked about England had the articles of clerkship.
Clerkship. How many manslaughters had to happen for those articles to be written?
It binds a pupil to a barrister until he has completed enough manslaughters on his own.
Yes, perfect. Good job, Stan. You have made one funny.
And I also learned a couple Latin terms. It's
oh God,
apprentici ad litem and servientes ad litem.
It's like you're trying to summon a demon on Halloween.
Yeah. It's always Latin.
You're
is always
a stupid child, and you can't read. That's like it's like a fucking racist white kid saying entero somewhere else because they don't speak Spanish. I'm gonna go to the beach.
And it basically just talks about how everybody, all training had some kind of the same years. Like even become a knight, you were a page and a squire, and then you became a knight. So it just, everybody had this 7 years of
We should bring back the page boy haircut for boys.
Isn't that what I have?
Almost. I mean, yours is more mullet. A page boy, like you need the bangs for it to be page boy.
Yeah, my bangs are just all over the place.
Yeah, you need like a lot of grooming before you could do the.
Did you have bangs for a while?
Yeah, but they grew out, and that was all the money I ate.
I just lost your money.
Yep.
Get the bangs.
I used to cut my own bangs, and there are photos of that time, and don't look at those.
Is it angular?
No, I mean okay. So I definitely did better than the stupid kids these days do now, and they post the video on the internet for attention. It's definitely better than that. I think the problem is that I was ugly. And so just like nothing was going to fix that. No hairstyle is going to fix the fundamental problem of my ugliness.
Was ugly? Is that implying anything?
Hey, Stan, go fuck yourself. I'll put it this way: I was 20 pounds heavier.
All right,
it's disgusting.
Just for our listeners, Hal is very attractive. I don't want to imply that anything else.
Ew.
I'm going back to Adam Smith. So he didn't like the 7-year period for apprenticeship. He thought it would only take a few days or weeks to train somebody.
That's like everybody in corporate now. They're like. They hire somebody, and then they're like, okay, you got it now, right? It was like, no, you just hired me 2 weeks ago. It's like, good luck, bitch. And then they don't give you PTO ever.
Yeah. So he thought a couple days, a couple weeks to train someone.
Hey, look it. It's a lawnmower. Is that what you bought your son? There's a giant fucking lawnmower? Holy shit. You know how many lawnmowers I have? 0. I don't have a lawn. I live in America. I'm educated. I'm smarter than most of the people with money, and yet I don't even have a lawn. I don't even have a house to put on the lawn.
You don't need a lawnmower then if you don't have a lawn.
Yeah, but the problem is that I don't have a lawn, even though I'm smarter than you.
So Adam Smith said that you should, once you did this couple weeks of training, you should pay somebody fully for their work, except for the stuff they fucked up. If they fucked up something, you didn't pay them. So it was, But even though what he said...
That's crazy because, like, if you're one of the V-dashes at the bottom, you don't get paid at all. You like barely you don't even get paid enough to afford the apartment that they force you to have to come into an office. And yet the VP level people are fucking up everything all the fucking time, but they just blame the pores and fire like 200 pores.
Yeah.
Hey, unrelated, but do you want to kill and eat some people? Maybe some VPs.
Not
just throwing out a social class. Just throwing that out there. Do a little like tribute to Namira shit. That was an Elder Scrolls reference.
Oh, from Elder Scrolls now, or some other video game.
No, that's Skyrim and Oblivion.
Oh, okay.
The series is called The Elder Scrolls.
Got it.
Yep.
So in 1877 on apprenticeship, they reached the conclusion that on-the-job training, which is kind of what apprenticeship is a good. Maybe you don't have to have it for that long, but the guilds were probably a bad thing because they controlled too much.
So he was a trust buster.
And it said the internship is kind of the same as a apprenticeship. Now, during the Industrial Revolution, we started having unskilled labor, which required less training. It obviates the need for training because machines are doing the work. Somebody has to man the machine. And,
it's hilarious what we call unskilled labor nowadays.
Well, it's a lot of it during a lot of the Industrial Revolution was pushing buttons or things that did not require skill. You had to do the button.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds very reasonable. But I don't think you've met enough people if you don't understand how fucking stupid the average man is. Literally. Cannot, push a button. That's skilled labor. I have met so many people too stupid to fucking do that. And so have you.
And that's why they automate a lot of those tasks, because they can't trust the people to do them.
I just can't wait until AI kills us all. I'm really happy about this. And
what happened to whatever else was going to kill us? The asteroid.
Oh, I would love an asteroid.
So the skills now in industrial were build and maintain the machines. There are still trade unions for skilled labor, electricians, mechanics, things like that. And they're very similar to have on-the-job training. It might not be called an apprenticeship. There weren't a lot of apprenticeships in the U.S. and the colonies. Benjamin Franklin was an apprentice to his brother for a bit, and then he left because he didn't complete it and started his own printing press. But it wasn't common because a lot of the immigrants were actually skilled, same as they are today. Some companies started co-op programs where you go to the college for a while, then work in the company for a while, which is very similar to that.
Like an internship? Was it paid or unpaid?
There are both. Sometimes you're paying for tuition is what the internship covers. It did say initially when they started training, they had night training for clerks, which it makes sense it was night because that's the best time to do manslaughter.
Yeah, manslaughter. What are you pointing at? A bunny? Where's the bunny? I don't see a bunny. What?
And then
a squirrel. Oh, I don't care about squirrels.
It says
see, where our producer
training
comes from, there aren't squirrels, so I still think squirrels are special, but here there's squirrels everywhere.
There's black squirrels, gray squirrels, and red squirrels here.
Yes.
They all intermingle.
So many squirrels. Yeah. I just destroyed my fucking kneecap on the stable looking for a rabbit. There's no rabbit.
It talks about in the similarity of graduate degrees. It says a graduate student, somebody getting their doctorate, will work under a supervisor, professor, master, produce his dissertation, which is his masterpiece, and then he'll become a postdoc, which is the journeyman, before he gets his doctorate, which would be equivalent of a master.
Okay.
These apprenticeship and training was regulated by the Smith-Hughes Act of 1970, National Industrial Recovery Act of 1933, National Apprentice Act, which is the Fitzgerald Act. And then after World War II, there was a lot of specialized training. There's a lot of complexity. And initially, managers weren't trained because the profit margins were so great, they didn't really need to train them. They just had to you're responsible for those people. It led to a lot of poor management practices throughout.
That sounds like every tech company
revolution.
in America.
And then they started MBA, of course, is a huge thing now, but initially it wasn't. Managers weren't training. So just for reference, this is so much different than today.
It's really not, because anytime
you
wouldn't know this, but if you're oppressed like me, you know that anytime you go to a company and it seems okay, within a year, everything is going to go down into the shitter, and the management is going to be fucking abysmal, and nobody can tell you why. Why is everything so much fucking worse than it was when I was hired? Why do we just make a series of terrible decisions?
Was hiring you one of those terrible decisions?
No, that was when things were still good. And then, a year later, they let the fucking C-suite destroy everything, and then they laid off 400 people, and then they're like, oh no, now our company isn't functioning. And every single fucking company, you told me this about your company, they let some idiot in charge. And so, I'm going to get you fired. I'm going to tell you everything that you said. But, yeah, no. It's like, why does every company just end up fucking garbage?
So I'm going to give you a little contrast to what it was like when I entered the work industry. My first employee had a 2-week orientation program. You don't do anything. You just orientation. And it had a 3-year program, which is like an apprenticeship, that included 3 months of just classroom training. So you were 2-week orientation. You were on the job for about a year and a half. You went to 3-month training, and then on the job for another year and a half before you became a regular person. And that's very rare now. I mean, most of the time, you just assume that they have a lot of training courses. They partner with all the training companies that provide training materials, almost all online, and they expect you to learn the skills on your own. They tell you to take training. They give you credit for taking training, but it's not formalized. It's just like, hey, take this class. That's kind of what training is like today.
My favorite part is when they say, please, feel free to ask any questions. And then you ask a question, and they're like, oh, how dare you ask a question? What are you, an idiot? And you're like, okay, Jesus fucking Christ.
I did corporate training for a while, and when I was doing corporate training, one of my friends was a professor at MIT. And he was saying, how MIT students were the same as anybody else. And he would say, hey, you guys are paying, the time was $20,000 to go here. Just feel free to ask me any questions. Just contact me. Let me know. I'm available for you. Come to my office hours. And nobody ever did, right? He was a professor. He just lectured. And so when I was doing my training, I'd start the same way. I'd say, talk about him and what he did. And then I would say, this class is free. Don't ask any questions.
You get what you pay for.
So you ready to go to our last topic, our Wikipedia topic?
I'm so ready.
Okay. Faradaya. Faraday is a genus of the mint family. So all the mint type of
Faraday cage. You go in there, your cell phone don't work.
We'll get there because it's the name of this genus, the mint family. Mint family includes a lot of the herbs like mint, sage, basil, rosemary, savory, marjoram, oregano, hyssop, thyme, lavender, perilla. It includes catnip, salvia, bee balm, wild draga, oriental mothwort.
Fuck you.
I knew you'd say that. It's the name of the plant.
You're an idiot.
So it's a huge thing. But Faradaya is actually also Oxera. It's kind of merged into Oxera. It says it's a synonym for Oxera, and it only exists in Vanuatu and New Caledonia. Vanuatu was one of the subjects we talked in the Lost episode. We talked about Ra Island.
Well, nobody fucking knows what happened.
Nobody knows about it except for us.
Secret.
There's 21 species. They include lianas, shrubs, and trees. I looked up what liana was, and they're woody vines that are used trees for support. So the vines that grow on top of trees.
I love the woody vine.
I said it's got 21 species. The only picture, the only talk about anything is on Oxera crescifolio. These things don't have names. It's just there's a bunch of plants and Wikipedia doesn't cover them.
Okay.
And it doesn't say what they taste like. I mean, this whole family is a mint family, 21 species, and it doesn't say, hey, it tastes like oregano or it tastes like thyme.
But how would that help if it's
why would he
the
eat
plant
them?
tastes like another plant that you also haven't had?
No, you've had oregano.
Yeah, but like if you've never had oregano, how would it be helpful to say it tastes like parsley?
Well, no, because these are all white Europeans that discovered them. So they may have some.
Yeah, nobody had ever heard of fucking herbs before the Europeans. Thanks.
They talk about things. Why would you talk about what it tastes like? I would say that. I mean,
have you ever seen that picture of the periodic table where it's like, can I lick it? And it's color coded in 4 categories. Can I lick it?
Funny, I like that.
Lickability of the elements.
I would want to know that if I'm in New Caledonia. So New Caledonia is kind of northwest of Australia. It's like in the middle of the ocean.
Woohoo! Just like the garbage island where USPS keeps sending my letters.
And guess what? It's a French territory, same as Algeria was.
Wunderbar.
And in 1988, the French said, hey, we're going to transition you to become an independent country. It's going to be a 20-year transition. So 1998, so 2018, they voted on it, and they keep voting no. They keep voting to stay French territory.
They wanted to stay a French territory?
Yeah, they still want to stay a French territory.
I guess they must love wine and cheese and complaining about stuff.
It's probably a lot of it. It's not a big country. It's like 270,000 people. And I don't think they're doing a lot of editing on Wikipedia because it doesn't say much about New Caledonia or their plans. So
sad.
So in 2015, the Faradaya was merged with Oxera. And as you guessed, it was named after Michael Faraday by a guy named Ferdinand von Miller in 1865.
How come there aren't more Ferdinands today? I think that we should name all of our sons Ferdinand.
Like the bull?
What?
It's a kid's book from like old time.
Oh my God! Nobody gives a fuck. I hate children.
You've established that as one of the attributes of your character.
Imagine, like, marrying a white guy because you both are fucking imperialist sacks of shit who think that women without children are pointless, and then he makes you dress up like a couch to fuck you. Like, imagine choosing that life for yourself and then having to live with the consequences.
I think most cat fuckers have
couch
married.
Fuckers.
Sorry, most couch fuckers.
What the fuck was your mind? Jesus.
I think most couch fuckers have married immigrants.
Yep.
Yeah,
because they literally view immigrants as objects and pieces of furniture.
So,
yep.
I'll cover Michael Faraday first because he invented the homopolar motor, discovered benzene, discovered electromagnetic induction, laws of electrolysis. He did the ice pail experiment.
Why should I care?
Which is ice pail experiment was used to.
Is that the ALS challenge?
No. Yes, it could be.
Fucking stupid.
But you mentioned Faraday cage, and the ice bucket challenge is what used
worked
to
at a
develop
flight
the Faraday
test center,
cage.
and that's what we called the flight test vehicles.
Yeah.
Because if you were in there and someone texted you, or you texted someone, that did not get delivered.
Yeah.
Creates an awkward situation sometimes.
Yeah. If I don't text you back right away, it just means I hate you.
I know. I am aware. You're a very hateful person, Stan. You're so full of hate. All the time you're like, I'm full of hate. I'm Stan.
That's what defines me. You've got a characteristic of hating children. I have a characteristic of just
hating everyone. You're just generally hateful.
So he did the Faraday effect, which showed that light and electromagnetism are related. In 1846, he did a lot of good things for society. He showed that mine explosions were caused by coal dust and that ventilation could prevent them. So this is 1846. in 1913, they said, hey, we should do something about that and ventilate the mines. So it just took them 60 years to listen to him. And he was dead by then. Yeah.
The children yearn for the mines. Put them back there. See those children over there? They're in a brewery for some reason. They long for the mines. That's why they're always doing this stupid little shit with their hands. It's because they're longing for a pickaxe so that they can work in the mines and dig for coal.
They don't have to duck. They could just go through standing up through those things where
yeah.
Adults would have to crawl.
Exactly. Yeah. The children long for the mines. Put them back there. I really think that child labor laws are way too restrictive. We should be sending children to work.
Yeah.
We should, 9-year-olds should be fucking seasoned employees.
Yes. The old days. You got pictures from that.
Yeah.
Getting little 6 years old. He's all coming out of mines, faces covered in dirt.
That's exactly how it should be. And then you can retire at 30 like God intended. Put children back in the mines.
Die
age
at
5.
30. Die at 30. The whole thing, you won't have to pay him a pension.
Okay, well, that's even better.
Don't
honestly.
Understand the industrialist.
I'm pretty sure, if you live to 40, you're like an ancient elder.
Yeah.
So that's what I want. Put the children back to work.
So I didn't find anything about Faraday to see why a plant was named after him, except to find a lot of things were named after him. So he did report on environmental things, which is very unusual in the 1860s, but he reported on industrial pollution of the Thames in London. And so the things named after him, the Faraday effect, the Faraday cage, the Farad. He's got 4 scientific awards. He's got Faraday Institution, Faraday Institute for Science and Religion, postage stamps, banknotes. He's got tons of statues.
He's got a shitload of merch.
Streets and several university halls. He's big name over everywhere. So he's got a lot of stuff.
Well, Stan, what would you name after Faraday?
I don't need to.
I think that I would invent a cookie or a small cake, and that would be the Faraday cake.
Would it be very, very sweet?
It would be really, really, really overly sweet on the outside, but the inside would be bland as hell. Or it could be a urinal cake, and that can be the Faraday cake.
Don't know. Faraday would seem like a cool guy.
Well, is a urinal cake not a useful invention, Stan?
It is a useful invention.
Exactly. There you go. It's a sign of respect. Fuck you.
Right. So I'll get to the guy who actually named the plant. It was Baron Sir Ferdinand Jacob Henrik von Mueller. That's his full title.
Okay.
He had a lot of. He had
Baron,
Sir, and von, which are all titles of nobility. So he was a real white guy, German.
His name was Stan, Dave, Josh, Jason, John, Eric, Connor, Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
And he was born in Germany, but did all his work in the Australian area. So he.
Hi, Mike.
New Caledonia is close to Australia. So he also named macadamia nut plant.
I like those nuts.
After his friend John McAdam.
Stupid.
So he talked about McAdam, about, macadam or macadam or tarmac.
Mac and cheese is
named after. There's a different John McAdam. So this John McAdam was more of a botanist and the engineer. But he was also a theist who rejected Darwinism.
Well, that's always a great idea in retrospect.
And it said he still remained friends with Darwin, so in spite of their differences. So he was friends with Darwin, which I thought was kind of cool. So he probably was friends with Faraday, their contemporaries. He's friends with Darwin. Seemed like a well-renowned person. And he named this plant that just doesn't say anything about any of those species. It just says, yeah, this is a genus called Faradaya.
That's such white people bullshit.
It's weird because it's like I don't know anything about it. Is it a tree? Is it herb? Does it taste good?
Hey, imagine experiencing the human body and still believing in intelligent design. There's nothing smart about this shit. Why do I feel like I gotta shit my pants if I'm worried about something? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
So I don't know if you know this, but the eye, the thing that connects the eye to the brain.
I don't know if you know this,
goes through the eye.
I gotta
instead of being
piss.
under it.
I gotta piss so bad.
All right,
Holy
well,
fucking shit.
we're pretty much done here. So,
Whoa, we did it.
I will talk about our
Thank you.
next episode if you want to hear about them, because they're going to be really boring to you. Are you ready?
How come you never let me pick? So boring.
Because it's all random, so it doesn't matter who picks.
I mean, but
it's
you
random.
always choose the worst possible anything.
So we're going to talk from 1877, Volume 4, BOK to Can, page 212, Brazil, Political Constitution.
Every word of that was less interesting than the one before.
Not yet. I think you'll hate this one.
Fuck you. I hate it.
In 1980,
fuck you.
Volume 14, Peking through Probability, which Peking is now Beijing now. Page 831, Changes in Population Characteristics. So how populations change.
Okay, all that's so boring. Stan, you had to pick something that's actually interesting or I'm going to pee my pants out of boredom. God.
And finally, from Wikipedia was... I just looked this up today, so I didn't have time to do the things. Tucuruvi, which is a metro station in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
So fucking... I'm so checked out. Do you see that I am holding in my piss? God.
So, you ready to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, and also I'm ready for you to choose something more interesting that anybody cares about.
Oh, people care about this.
Nobody fucking cares.
All right,
I gotta pee.
All right.
Hey, Stan.
Yeah?
Tell everybody to hire me for calligraphy, scripta calligraphy.
Oh, that's right. You got your first calligraphy job.
Yep, I
Nice.
do. Okay, now I gotta pee. Bye.
Okay, bye.